What's up, my cat lovers? Welcome back to another episode of the Cat Dad Show. My name is Scott Colby, and I'm a cat dad to Mia and Nomar, who are in heaven and inspired me to do this show. And now I'm a cat dad to Nico and Milo. So let me ask you this. Are you struggling with the loss of your pet? Maybe you're like me and you've had to say goodbye to your cat and you're struggling with grief and the various emotions that come with it, such as guilt, sadness, anger, or whatever else you might be feeling, and do you not know how to process your grief or live your life without your one true love? Well, today I have a very special guest, Whitney Riley, who's going to show us how EFT or tapping can help us with pet loss grief. She's going to actually take us through a tapping routine specifically for pet loss grief, and she'll also show us how tapping can help us process difficult moments that you might have to make with your cat, such as they need treatment, like for kidney disease, or even making the hard decision to say goodbye. Now, Whitney is a mom to 7.5 fur babies, including 5.5 cats. We'll talk about this half in just a minute. And one human. She's a wife and a transformational mentor who has 25 years experience transforming lives. She's a certified EFT practitioner, founder of the Make Everything Easier method and the specific meditation technique, and author of 2 books, as well as being blessed by the Dalai Lama and nominated for a Nobel Prize. Welcome to the Cat Dad Show, Whitney. So glad you're here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
All right, we're going to get into that 5.5 cats in just a minute, but I want to know a little bit about your journey and how you became a transformational coach.
Um, so we're talking about a lot of grief around pet. Along the way, I had to confront grief early in my life. My parent became ill and passed away early in my life. And in that, there was also a lot of abandonment and figuring it out when other people were doing different things, and anxiety and panic disorder and autoimmune situation all kind of arose. And each time I just kept turning toward holistic or alternative methods and really was able to gracefully navigate myself out of some pretty dark holes and build a really lovely life. So now I have kind of packaged all that together to help people do it better, faster, clearer with a lot of support. And that's how I came to this.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I find that a lot of transformational coaches really have a unique story in their own right, and that kind of inspires them to do the work that they do. So it sounds like you have that same journey. Now, we mentioned in the intro, you have 7.5 pets,
Yeah.
including 5.5 cats. So can you share a little bit about your current furry family and your unique story, or what's the deal with this half a cat?
I don't know if it's that unique. I think many people can relate because I feel like when you become a cat person, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same with puppies or dogs, but cat like they have like some network and they send the strays or the kitty cats have always shown up. Um, and this cat, this half a cat, showed up. I was running down the street one night, kind of making sure someone got home, and the cat just sort of T-boned me, and I wasn't thinking, picked it up, and it was purring and hissing, and he was all confused, and then I was all confused. I put him down. I'm like, all right, up to you. If you want to follow me home, I'm more than happy to take care of you and introduce you to the tribe. And he followed me home. I fed him. He was there in the morning. My husband, because he's also a pet lover, opened the door and he came running in, and we were all rushing to see who could feed him, who could pet him, who could love him. And so we're in that half stage where we're trying to see if he'll show up enough to get him to the vet and get him, neutered, fixed, and vaccinated. So we're in the half stage.
I love it. I love that you are a cat lover and that your husband is as well. So make sure he can tune into the Cat Dad show. Well,
Yes,
listen
and
to
my
more.
son, my son will love this. My
Oh,
son will he was, like, pushing my husband out of the way, and they beep. I'm like,
Whitney, I'm actually not that familiar. I've been a health coach actually for a number of years, but I'm actually not that familiar with emotional freedom technique, also known as EFT or tapping. So, for the listeners that may be out there also not familiar with that, can you explain what EFT is and how it can be used to process grief and even the grief of losing a cat?
Yes. EFT was kind of was born by a guy named Gary Craig. He was a hedge fund manager, actually, who showed up at a thought field therapy workshop by Roger Callahan, and he was the only one. And thought field therapy had this very dynamic, um, difficult process for difficult problems, and he was trying to teach it because he was able to do really remarkable things around phobias, fears, grief, things like that. And Gary Craig was like, well, why don't you just hit all the spots, which I'll get into, and make a basic recipe? And so, what he was talking about are these places on our head where there are vascular bundles, research now has shown, but they're on meridians or nadis. In acupuncture or acupressure, these are places on the body where there are energy channels, kind of like, you know, the veins carry blood. They carry our energy. And so at these points, while you tap on them and process negative emotions, stuck feelings, fears, blocks, for some reason that many people are trying to isolate scientifically why, and there are lots of theories, just distraction, but you're able to calm your amygdala, your emotional body, basically any sort of hijacking hormone that takes us on an uncomfortable ride. And then we kind of loop in it. Where grief, the minute we, start feeling it, it can feel like it's never going to end or we don't know how to process out of it. It can naturally help us start bringing reason back on board where we can have self-compassion and go, yeah, I'm grieving because it makes sense instead of like, why am I feeling this way and I can't get away from it? Is that a
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. It's like I am in a Facebook group of people that have lost a pet. So there's thousands of people in there, and just everybody's got such a unique story, but many people they're in uncharted, unfamiliar territory. That first time they've lost a pet, the range of emotions is so vast, and they don't know how to um, process their grief and really live again. I know a lot of people in this group just say things like they've been in bed for weeks and they don't know how to get up and live their life and move on, and a feeling that they've never had before. So, uh, in a little bit, we're going to go through maybe an EFT retreat routine that I think will be helpful for people. Just a side note, I've put together a really comprehensive resource to help people move through their pet loss grief. Anybody watching this video, just type the word grief in the comments and I'll make sure to get it to you. And I know, Whitney, in when we were kind of first chatting, and we were talking about bringing you on as a guest, you said you're still grieving the three kitties that you've lost. How has EFT personally helped you in dealing with these losses?
Um, I mean, it's helped support me through the heaviness, like you explained, like it can impact you and take you out of the flow of life. I have a child, and one of them we lost, where he just disappeared, and there's a lot of guilt about wishing you had that crystal ball. You could have seen how things were going to unfold and feeling responsible for that and kind of wishing you could go back and make different decisions and how it impacts. So it's my grief, but it's also my family's grief. And then the, that transition to watching your child lose some of the innocence that you want to protect as a parent and helping him process his grief independently, but also supported. So that was our one cat, Mr. Handsome, and still I feel like such a big hole in our whole routine, missing him. And then we adopted these two cats out of a drain, and we had them tested and vaccinated, but feline leukemia went undetected, and he got very sick, and we had to make that hard decision to let him go, or, keep him alive, maybe in a less than ideal way, when we also had all these other cats who were vaccinated. But I learned that there's only a 30 or 40% efficacy rate. So then we kind of sat like thinking, oh my gosh, our who else has been affected? And I have one cat who's 16 who ended up getting it, but she's up in a palace. And, it has been, again, 2.5 years now since then. And she's doing great. She's 16. She is like, great. And we take care of her, isolate her. And then the one who passed, who was just, it was horrible. He got it. He was just this lion heart, brave heart, just this cat who was so pivotal in our family and to our other cat. And that was very painful because we had to make decisions. Like, he had renal failure along with it. And then watching him waste away and not knowing what the right timing for everything was. It was, the whole package of grief and illness and guilt about bringing those cats into our family. Although, no one really did anything wrong. It was just, it snuck through all the systems in place that we did right, that did right. And so that kind of is the story of those three cats.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sure.
EFT helped me be stronger for my family, be open to the flood of grief and loss, and also get through the fear of poking him with that knee. And I don't know anyone who's gone through the subcutaneous fluids where you're hurting your cat to help your cat. And I'm super squeamish, so that's not my thing. And I had to use EFT to help me through that so I could help my cat.
Yeah, I had to give Mia, my cat who passed away last year, she was 20. I had to give her the subcutaneous fluids for her kidney disease. Well, I actually didn't have to give it to her. She needed it. I was really worried about having to do it because years ago, my sister had a cat that had kidney disease, and she administered the subcutaneous fluids for him. He didn't tolerate it well. She basically had to put him in the bathtub and just kind of, put him in a spot where he wasn't going to escape. And she said it was very traumatic for her and her
So
cat.
traumatic.
Yeah.
So
And so I was always worried when Mia she was diagnosed with kidney disease, early stage kidney disease when she was 16, and she ended up living to 20. We didn't need to start doing subcutaneous fluids until I think she was about 18, about 4 months before she turned 19. But then I was like, I don't want to do this. So I actually found a vet student. So I live in Knoxville near the University of Tennessee. They've got a really good vet school. I went on Rover, where you normally hire people to do dog sitting or cat sitting, and found that there was a few people on there that have vet experience or they're a vet student. So I contacted somebody from the platform Rover who does cat and dog sitting. She's also a vet student. So I was like, hey, could you come over here and administer the subcutaneous fluids every other day? And she actually did that. And so that
well,
so relieving for me because I didn't
so
want to do
relieving.
that myself. Yeah. How long ago did your three kitties pass away?
The first one, Mr. Handsome, that was 5 years ago.
Okay.
And still big hole.
Yeah.
Because it, not just my cat now, it's me and my son or my family, but me and my son, we would get in bed to read every night. And Mr.
Oh,
Handsome, and I'm like, oh, here's Mr. Handsome. And sometimes he'd jump off after we were reading and we'd be like, oh, he's late for work. And, So then the first night he was gone, it was just like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So EFT can work even if your cat passed away years ago or they just passed yesterday. Does it matter how long the time has been since they passed? Is that right?
So EFT is wonderful for traumas that happened as far back as you can remember. Even some people use it for trauma that you've inherited from family. When I was in sixth grade, I was on my way to a friend's house, and I've been a cat lover, crazy cat lover, like
Mhm.
cat since the day I think I was imagined even being made. Like just I have pictures of me carrying cats around, just cat, 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 cat. I wrote a poem back when I was in elementary school, like crazy person who loves cats and lives in a mansion. Like it's hilarious. But so this big, beautiful white cat was running across the street and got trigger alert, by the way, like violently hit by a car.
Mhm.
And I was just very negatively impacted. And I've used DFT to go back and reprocess that event and that trauma and that pain. And then that sort of like, being with my mom, being dropped off with a family I didn't really know well and having that horrible experience and then having to kind of push it down and play. But, we're all different and we were all impacted by that differently. But EFT is a great to help process and get you out of the stuck energy state of the impact of any trauma that you witnessed, that, you might have a loved one that's going through it and you don't know how to help and it makes you feel bad. You can use it in so many ways to support you, your pet.
Whitney, I was hoping that you could walk us through a simple EFT session that our viewers and listeners could use, or maybe, they can follow along and do it now. Um, Especially those who are watching who have been affected by grief of losing a pet, a cat. Yeah, could you walk us through a routine? I would just love that.
I would absolutely love to. So first of all, I'm sorry for your loss, and feeling sad and feeling confused and angry and all the feelings make sense, or you wouldn't be feeling them. Um, the first suggestion I have is to start where you are. There is no hard, fast playbook for grief or life for that matter. But where you are is perfect the way it is. And there's no right way to be. So just really embrace wherever that is, whether it's, working too much to not think about it or laying in bed not knowing how to get past the heaviness of grief. Acknowledge the thoughts and feelings, especially how they feel in your physical body. EFT is really great for connecting our thoughts and our stories to our body, where we store a lot of that stuck energy, you know, where the trauma comes on, where the difficulty comes on. So really acknowledge what that feels like in your body and rate it. So you can even jot it down right now if you want to follow along. It could be overwhelmed, or it could be like just so sad. And where that feel, what it starts to like travel into your body. What does that feel like in your body? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel like choking? Does it feel like you're trying to escape it and push it away? And take a deep breath and relax and let it be here. It isn't who you are. It's just an experience and it makes sense. It makes sense. And so when you rate it, if it's a 5 or over, it might be hard to directly go there. You might be crying right now. You might be feeling so helpless to this overwhelming feeling where you're powerless to change the story. And if it's very intense like that, there are some things you can do, which is one, imagine a box. You can make it a lovely, fancy box or something plain and utilitarian. Imagine a box and you can put all of those overwhelming feelings, all the memories, all the things in this beautiful or, you know, strong box, and you can move it away from you. You can put it in a closet or put it somewhere special. You can put it on the moon if you need extra support. And then you can title it. can think about your beloved little furry friend, your family member, and you can title it in some way where it's a reduced number, and you can create a movie and title it, or a story and title it, and then tap on that. So we have one, you could just put it in a box, and then you can tap on the box, the feelings in the box without saying anything about what's in the box. Two, you can create a movie or a story and then title it. And three, the third way, which might be really great for those that feel like it's still really out of control with the first two, if your grief, if your confusion had a color, what color would it be? And Scott, I don't know if you want to tap along with me to kind of demonstrate how it works,
Sure.
if that resonates with you.
Let's
And I
do
was
it.
thinking the color one is probably the most straightforward to demonstrate,
Okay.
but they all follow this simple, just do the title and tap.
Mhm.
Okay. So how do you feel about creating a color-free grief?
So, yeah, I'll do that. To try to tell you what color it is.
What color?
Color of my grief. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna say green.
Okay. Well, you can keep your eyes closed for a minute. So when you look at this green color of grief, does it have a shape or is it just a blob?
So Mia was my cat that passed away last year. She had green eyes, so I'm kind of imagining the shape is eye-shaped, circular, oval.
One or two? Is it just one, or is it like her eyes?
Um, I'm seeing two.
Two. Okay. And what's your body feel like?
It's calm.
Okay. When you look at the green two oval shapes, is there anything in your body that wants to be felt, acknowledged?
Just I'm just feeling happy thinking about her and feeling love in my heart.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so if you could open your eyes, I'll teach you the spots, or teach your listeners and viewers.
Yeah.
So first we'll start at the side of the hand, and I say something and you follow, right? I'll say, even though blah, 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 and you'll say, even though blah, blah, blah. But it isn't about me, ever, never about me. It is about you. So even if it's your exact words and it's shifted, always interrupt me and we'll change it.
Okay.
to-
Well, so I'll say this out loud after you. Okay. And I'll do the tapping as well.
So we'll start on the side of the hand. Even though
Even though
I have these green ovals,
I have these green ovals,
I'm just going to look at them
I'm just going to look at them
and send myself so much love
and send myself so much love
and feel the happiness inside my body.
and feel the happiness inside my body.
It's okay to look at this.
It's okay to look at this.
Mine to look at.
Mine to look at.
And I'm sending myself lots of love.
And I'm sending myself lots of love.
It's okay
It's okay.
to have all the feeling,
Had all the feeling,
all the thought
all the thought
about these green ovals.
about these green ovals.
And I'm just going to look at these green ovals,
And I'm just going to look at these green ovals
feel all the feeling,
and feel all the feeling
and send myself so much love.
and send myself so much love.
So we'll tap on the tippy top of your head,
Okay.
just looking at these green ovals. Okay.
Tap on the tippy top of my head, just
Well,
looking at.
say that you could just say the thing.
Oh, just looking at these green.
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, you'll close your eyes if you want, and you can look at them. And I'll just say head, and
Okay.
you won't say that, and you'll just say the looking at the green oval.
Okay. Gotcha.
So looking at these green ovals.
Looking at these green ovals.
Eyebrow is right there at the beginning of your eyebrows by the side of your nose.
Okay.
Just looking at these green ovals.
Just looking at these green ovals.
Side of the eye is on your orbital bone. Yeah. Not back by the temple, but right there on your orbital bone on the side of the eye. looking at these green ovals.
Looking at these green ovals.
Under the eye is right under your eye on that same bone, the ledge, under your pupil. Sending myself so much love.
Sending myself so much love.
Looking at these green ovals.
Looking at these green ovals.
Under the nose. It's okay to look at these green ovals.
It's okay to look at these green ovals.
Chin. I'm looking at these green ovals.
I'm looking at these green ovals.
And sending myself so much love.
And sending myself so much love.
Collarbone. It's right there on either side of the clavicle underneath. It's safe to look at these green ovals.
It's safe to look at these green ovals.
They mean so much to me.
They mean so much to me.
Root point, and I can feel the joy in my body.
And I can feel the joy in my body.
The rib point, you want to go down to, it's about your second or third rib from the bottom.
Okay.
And nipple line, and you just tap there.
Okay.
Sending myself so much love
Sending myself so much love.
as I look at these green ovals.
As I look at these green ovals.
Under the arm is like a hand width down from your armpit on the side of your body, the side plane of your body.
Okay.
These green ovals.
These green ovals.
I'm so grateful I get to look at these green ovals.
I'm so grateful I get to look at these green ovals.
So important to see them.
So important to see them.
And I'm sending myself so much love.
And I'm sending myself so much love.
Top of the head. Take a deep breath and just really look at the green oval. Okay, you stop tapping and keep your eyes closed and just look at those green ovals and see if anything has changed.
I mean, I feel calm. I feel at peace. I feel happy. I know I said maybe a little bit of that beforehand. I feel like I can picture her love to me, and it's not painful to imagine her. I know sometimes when I look at her for real pictures, I get sad. I was like, this will probably give me a little bit more peace when I do that.
So just really look at that part, that little sadness that creeps in, and keep your eyes closed and really look at that sadness. You know, you miss her.
Mm.
It's a lot of years of having a friend. You're so grateful for her. What's the color now? Is it still the green ovals?
Still green. I'm also seeing some brown. That was her main color.
Anything else?
Just envisioning like just the life, like you mentioned, the lifetime with her and all the joy she brought.
So awesome. Okay, so let's just start with the top of the head.
Yeah.
Looking at all this joy she brought me.
Looking at all this joy she brought me.
I'm feeling okay.
I'm feeling okay.
Brown, seeing the green and the brown.
I'm seeing the green and the brown.
Sun in the eye. It's safe to see the green and the brown.
It's safe to see the green and the brown.
Under the eye. And all these images.
And all these images.
Of a lifetime together.
Of a lifetime together.
Under the nose. So important to look at this.
It's so important to look at.
Chin. So important to see this.
It's so important to see this.
And send myself so much love.
And send myself so much love.
All that joy.
All that joy.
Safe to feel it.
Safe to feel it.
Point. All that joy.
All that joy.
Go to your rib point. It's okay.
It's okay.
To see it.
To see it.
Under the arm. Nothing in the world.
Nothing in the world.
Will ever change that joy.
Will ever change that joy.
I'm just going to look at it.
I'm just going to look at.
And send myself so much love.
And send myself so much love.
And Mia a lot of love.
And Mia a lot of love.
Top of the head. Nothing in the world will ever take that away from me.
Nothing in the world will ever take that away from me.
Eyebrow, seeing the green and the brown,
seeing the green and the brown,
and sending myself love.
and sending myself love.
That in the eye. And if I ever feel sad,
And if I work out sad,
I allow myself sadness
I allow myself sadness
under the eye because it's just a different expression of love
because it's just a different expression of love
and joy
and joy.
under the nose. And no one can ever take that away.
And no one can ever take that away
Because it happened.
because it happened.
And it will always be mine and Mia's.
And it will always be mine and Mia's.
Called on, and I'm sending all parts of me love.
And I'm sending all parts of Mia love.
Mia love and me love.
Mia love and me love.
Good for you. So you can't break that.
You can't break that
Oh, with 1,000 swords
with 1,000 swords.
under that arm. And I'm so grateful I get to see this.
And I'm so grateful I get to see this.
I'm sending myself so much love.
And I'm sending myself so much love.
Top of that, just take a deep, deep breath. Maybe stop tapping. Open your eyes whenever you're ready.
That felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering what it would be like for somebody, like if we did this a year ago. A year ago would have been right, like a month after Mia passed away, and I know I was in a lot worse shape. So, but I imagine the transformation may be even bigger. And, everybody's unique, right? We're going to experience this differently.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, every loss brings up other losses. Some are new losses. Some are, the interpersonal losses like I described with my son. And some of that can come up. Other things completely. I had a client who came to me because her pet passed away and she just could not pull it together. Kind of like you were describing. She just could not function. She had 2 small children, and her husband was like, you go see Whitney. This is like, we don't want to traumatize our kids, which is another story. But, we sat down, and very quickly by doing some of these techniques, we found that when she was just a little girl, her whole desires were around having this particular pet. And she couldn't have it when she was a kid. So she grew up, went to college, got married, and then they adopted or got this pet. I'm trying to protect her identity. But so while processing the grief, letting the 5-year-old girl come and talk about what she lost her dream. She lost her baby. She lost the thing that she waited and waited and waited and then created later in life when she had power. So it wasn't just about the loss, their beloved pet, their family member. It was also her inner child's loss of this beautiful dream that had come true. So like you said, everyone's different. And so when you start processing grief, even if it doesn't make sense to your reasoning brain, let it come up. Let it be a part of tap. That's one of the beautiful things about tapping. We can get as messy, as negative, as sad, as, disjointed as we want. Just don't stop tapping and let it process. And at the end, it will start to make more sense.
Yeah. Beautiful. For somebody who is trying to process their pet loss grief, they might feel good after doing a session of tapping like you and I just did. Then how long do those results last? Are they permanent? Do they have to keep doing sessions, regularly to get a full effect, or how does that actually work?
Again, it depends on where you are and where you're able to start and what else is attached to that. But generally, so the woman I was talking about, that was one session. And then they were able to move forward with some natural grieving, and it quickly, sad. It is sad. So it's okay to be sad. But when you're unable to function or you just can't think about it or talk about it without falling apart, and that's not okay to you, turning in, and if you're having a hard time doing it yourself, contacting me or someone that you resonate with to help you over the hump, in this case, one session is really powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And talk about like, oh, sorry,
it was a big, I mean, obviously you can always use support for as long as you want support.
sure. Yeah. And grief, as I've learned, is not linear. You could be going along with your life and then bam, it hits you out of nowhere. Something reminds you of your pet or
Well, and a long time ago, I inherited my mother's pet in that mask that I mentioned at the beginning of the, um, and when this pet got sick and was dying, um, and it was basically like really mostly dead. And they were like, well, we could put it on a hot plate and all this like radical stuff, an emergency center. And I all of a sudden was overcome with tremendous grief because it attached to the grief that I had not processed around my parent.
mm, yeah. For somebody who doesn't have the benefit of Whitney in their lives, an EFT practitioner, is this like, and they've never done EFT before, so they're brand new to it. Is this something they can do on their own? And if so, how to actually even get started with this on their own?
Yes. So, one, please reach out. I'm always available. Um, startyourbetterlife.com is my website, just to make it super easy. And you can go there. There's a link to my book, but you can go to the contact page and just send me a message, and I will always spend time helping you get started. Or again, if you want more work and work together, we can do that too. But you can do this. The beauty of EFT is that we can start using it like popping an aspirin when we have a headache. We don't have to really know all the details. It just is so effective at lowering cortisol and all of the other hijacking hormones so that when we can bring reason to the table instead of judging ourselves for grief or being afraid of grief or anything that comes up around that. My first book, and this is on a separate press, but it's Emotional Souffle, is designed to be like aspirin. You can thumb through the pages to find the right emotion for you and your story and where you are at that particular moment. And there's a script, and all you have to do is plug in your emotions. And there's also a map of where to tap. And so it really takes the not knowing how to do it off the board. It's plug and play. You will get results. The more specific you get is when you have the real permanent shift.
Okay. eh, Many cat owners have decisions to make. Many pet owners, in general, based around, let's say your cat is diagnosed with an illness. Could be kidney disease, could be cancer, could be your cat needs surgery, could be making that tough choice to say goodbye. I know one of the things that really I never wanted to have to do is make a decision about my cat's health and treatment based around finances, because a lot of these treatments are expensive. It's difficult to say goodbye, just making that final decision. I know when I had to say goodbye to Mia, my best friend was with me in the vet, office. And I took Mia to the vet not knowing we were going to have to say goodbye. It was just her time. I told my friend, I'm like, I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to make this decision. A cat that had been with me for 20 years. How do I do this? So in these instances where we're trying to make these really tough decisions, whether we pay for treatment and maybe, extend the life of our cat a little bit longer, but not knowing if they're going to be comfortable, or making that tough decision to say goodbye. How do we use EFT to help us through these really hard decisions?
Well, and here's the number one thing. Always start where you are. Obviously, that's very hijacking. Anytime we have an emotion that is in front of who we are, which is a lot of times, but like you're saying, you went in to help Mia and were confronted with a shocking decision. And we want to do the best for our pets, even if it's out of our realm of even considering, to help our kitty over the rainbow bridge. And in that moment, I think, you take a deep breath and you confront, like what you said, like, I'm not strong enough to do this, was your thought, right? Now, when you were feeling that, I'm sure your whole body was racing with an experience. So, but the thing that you can latch onto is, even though I'm not strong enough to do this, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And if you can't say that, if that doesn't feel real, I'm open to accepting that this is where I am right now. And I don't know what to do about that. One of the most powerful things you can ever say, and I don't know what to do about that. Like, the gun is in my face and I'm not strong enough and I don't know what to do about that. And you just do the rounds, usually 3 to 5 rounds, and you will find a shift. You will find a shift. And it might be to like unbearable, like grief of having to do something you really don't want to do, and all of that's going to come up, and then you can be with that. Be with that. You get to be you. It is the most important thing. Pushing that away, which we all do a lot in lots of situations, just creates more resistance and more pain. And then potentially the opportunity to thread regret and guilt and shame through our story. And it's already hard enough. It is hard. It is difficult. And it's part of loving pets because their lifespan is just not as long as ours. And there are diseases and there are things that happen. So start where you are. What you're feeling, what you're thinking makes sense, or you wouldn't be thinking it or feeling it. Trying to find a place where you're feeling it and allowing it and not knowing what to do about it, or always sending yourself love if you can't love and accept yourself. Then reason gets back on and it's like, okay, well, what can I do then? Right now. It could be just take a deep breath, or hey, you turn to your friend and say, hey, can you help me? And when you're hijacked, it's hard to even know that you can say something like, hey, can you help me? Can you help me with it? Can you be there with me? Can you hold my hand? Can you talk for me while I, just cry? Or who knows, everybody's story. Or it's like, hey, I'd like to take Mia back. In some cases, people are like, hey, can you help me do this in a different way? Is there another alternative? Because we forget that there's a lot of alternatives, maybe not to the end result, but the process. At one point with my cat who has feline leukemia still for several years now, she sent me home with a bunch of painkillers. And because I was like, I just can't, she's, my baby. I can't say no right now when she's not super sick yet. And we kind of thought that was going to take its course, and she rebounded and she's been healthy now for years. So when you use tapping to meet yourself where you are, you're able to kind of get back online and then ask for other alternatives if there are them, not just A or B.
You mentioned your book, Make Everything Easier, focuses on processing unprocessed emotion. Is there a method in your book you can share that maybe pet owners might find helpful when dealing with a pet-related trauma?
Yes. So it's called the Make Everything Easier method. And
Love it.
basically, it goes through all of the emotions, and you get to really deep dive into anything related in your life that then attaches to your pet, or anything really. It's a really awesome method that is going to be so specific to you, your journey, how that aligns with your relationship to this pet and all the pets and the meaning of animals even. So you go through and there's deep validation. There's diving into your inner child and help upgrading that part that you want to keep the superpower of love or survival. And now you're less resistant inside your own body. And It just, you don't have to white knuckle your way through loving your pet or letting your pet go or moving on maybe to the next chapter of new pet, which you mentioned you're the dad of two new animals, but sometimes we get stuck in the past and can't share love with new pets. And it helps kind of just level all of that so you can be present and be okay.
Yeah, it took me a while. I mean, everybody again is different in terms of if and when they adopt a new pet. Some people do it right away. Some people switch over from cat to dog or dog to cat. Some people like me, it took me almost a year to be ready to adopt Nico and Milo. And to be honest, I didn't know if I was ready. I'm like, I'm never gonna know 100% if I'm ready. Maybe EFT would have helped, you know, helped during that decision because it was challenging for me to be ready. Like, am I still carrying the trauma from losing Nomar and Mia? And if so, how's that going to affect me being a cat dad to Nico and Milo? So that was a very tough decision for me.
Yeah.
Um, so, we've talked about using EFT for helping through pet loss, through people grieving. Is there um, maybe other benefits of EFT just to enhance somebody's overall well-being?
Absolutely. And
Tell me
again,
about.
you use it, but EFT, so they did a study a while back now, and they were just testing cortisol stress levels around any type of event. It could be grief or just daily living. And they got the results back and they were, oh my gosh, something went wrong. The cortisol levels they went way too far down. There must have been a testing problem. So they redid the whole test and the measures. So just using EFT, even if you don't know what to say and you just tap through the point that this is where I am, or, like there's EFT ranting. You can just lose your mind and keep tapping. It will, in the short term, almost always lower cortisol and the corresponding, hormones that all deploy when stress or anxiety or, intense emotion take hold of our nervous system. People can use EFT to improve their finances, their relationships, physical things like weight loss habits. I had a client who quit smoking in one session. That was about 8 years ago, and it holds. And in her process doing that, she quit smoking in one day and then lost like 700 pounds of narcissists that were like in every corner of her life. They just fell away because she changed her internal story, and she wasn't under their power anymore, and totally transformed her life. So yeah, you can use EFT. There are people, I don't necessarily work with people this way, but there are people who work with EFT and sports performance. So it's a really versatile tool. I highly recommend learning more about it because
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And I know when I was introducing you, um, we had mentioned that you do a specific meditation technique. I'm a big meditator, so I want to know if you can share more about this and if this is something you do in conjunction with EFT or how this works.
All the tools I use, I almost bring it back to EFT. It's like the
Okay.
holy grail of clearing out any residuals. But the specific thought meditation started when, years ago, 22 years ago. And I kept hearing about like transformational properties of gratitude and bringing gratitude in. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to get in the bath and I'm going to like focus on what I'm grateful for. And then I couldn't think of any particular thing outside of like just kind of sounding like, oh, I'm grateful for the food. I'm grateful for little things. It didn't seem profound enough. I was, you know what? I'm going to breathe gratitude into every body part and then release everything that isn't in alignment with gratitude, because I had also learned that the subconscious doesn't hear the word not. So if you're like, I'm grateful and I'm not, overwhelmed, or I'm not stressful, all your subconscious hears is stressful, and it will create more of that. So it's just like, you know what? I'm going to be open to letting go of every single thing that is not in 100% alignment. And I did that. And very quickly there was this panic, and I like rolled over the edge of the bathtub, like it was trying to get out of fire. And I was like, well, that was a crazy response. So I got even more curious and hopped back in and did the whole thing. And by the time I got to the top of my head, it was, I want more, I want more. And I breathed it into every body system. And then I focused on the third eye, and I would just breathe in gratitude and release gratitude. It was one of the most profound physiological experiences I've ever had. And back then I had an anxiety disorder I was still trying to navigate without using pharmaceuticals. And it changed my life in a day. It changed my life in a day. And crazy, if you want to, I don't know what any of this means, but there was some very woo-woo things that happened to me right after that. And that was every boyfriend I'd ever had contacted me in the next 24 hours to say something really nice to me.
Oh,
Even this one guy where we kind of went out and then it was disjointed. And then I came home from yoga and he was standing in front of my house. He'd been waiting there for hours with these white roses. And he said, I just wanted to tell you, you're so wonderful. I'm sorry things didn't work out. And then left. It was like, and I was like, okay. And I hadn't really attached it to this meditation. I was just like, been a really wild last 24 hours with these people showing up to say such nice things to me. And then I was driving down the street, a familiar street, always driving down, and this car next to me somehow swerved. And I remember bracing, and then the car drove off, and I was like, oh my God, that must have been like a nanoparticle away from my car. I was like, how did that car not hit me? And I was starting to recover, and then all of a sudden I hear honking. And I look over, and there's a guy in a truck next to me, and his eyes are like bugging out of his head. His hands are flying around, and he's like motioning for me to roll down the window. And I'm still trying to collect myself. And I roll down the window, and I look at him, and he goes, what? Like, did you it's called you? Like, he was deranged. Like, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what just happened. But somehow I knew it was the universe wanting to tell me, you're on the right path. Like I was a physics major a long time ago, and there's the whole quantum enigma where all possibilities are visibly possible. And I felt like the universe was like, there is a place beyond this contracted world of reality. We think we can't be bigger, do better, feel better. And I don't know, I listened because that was a pretty wild experience. It all happened in 24 hours after that meditation, and I kept doing it, and really amazing things kept unfolding.
so I love this. So how do we learn like more about this gratitude meditation technique? How do we do it to ourselves? If I want to do it,
Yeah.
where do,
So
where do
I
we
used
go?
to hold classes, and I've often thought I need to record these.
Okay.
It's just all the things, right?
Yeah.
But I love this conversation because I really have been thinking about this a
Okay.
lot. And I'm like, I'm ready to talk about this. Like, it's a really powerful tool, and you can change the word. And I did. I went from being really shy to doing a lot of public speaking
Well, you
and
don't think so.
changing. No, well, yeah. What is it? The extroverted introvert. But it's a lot from doing all this work. When you learn that you're so worthy of love, you're perfect the way you are, exactly as you are, and there's nothing in the world you can do or say to make me feel otherwise. Whether you're a bag of mess, missing your little furry pet, or you're at a new beginning place with a couple of kittens or another cat, you're always perfect. You're always perfect. You're just looking for that next perfect step, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about I was going to say, you talk about this meditation in your book.
I
You
don't.
don't.
There's another
Okay.
really great meditation in there, but this meditation, basically, here's the recipe. Pick your word, make it positive, and I would recommend gratitude as the first one. And you don't have to attach it to what you think gratitude means, because your higher self, how we're all connected, how like the bigger picture will come in. So gratitude, you breathe in. So just to get, it's like, take a deep breath. Gratitude lives in these toes. And an exhale, you can imagine a compost bin or trash, or if you're having a really hard time letting go, maybe some cardboard box that you're gonna put in the garage for later. And then you just breathe out and you say, I release everything that isn't 100% aligned with gratitude. And that is the recipe.
Okay.
You breathe in gratitude to your whole feet and you imagine it. And you slow your breath down as much as you can and take in more breath than you maybe would. Hold it longer than maybe you want to. And then also release it slowly and release more. And your body just you might want to like jump out of it like fire, like me. My body really resisted it. But it's amazing. It's worth waiting. And then things might come up, stories, pictures, images, words, and instead of latching onto them, just kind of imagine tearing off a sheet of paper and throwing it or pushing it into the recycling compost bin boxes. And if there's a feeling like you want to hold on or you're doing something bad, remind yourself that you can never lose anything that you need. You can never, like, if it needs to come back, it'll come back. And just so, what if I let it go even for just a minute? And then you just let gratitude live in your body. Let gratitude do its thing. And that's really the
I
recipe.
love it. We just got the recipe. Never documented anywhere until now. And now you're going to maybe start to bring it out and
Yeah.
share it
Yeah.
with people.
All right. Yeah.
Hopefully this inspired you to get this message out. I love it. Whitney, this has been great. Want to give you the opportunity to share a little bit about just where we can pick up your books, learn more about you, and connect with you. Any resources that you have to offer.
Startyourbetterlife.com. It's probably your one-stop shop for most things. And there's a contact form. You can email me. We can schedule a call, do anything that you need or want to ask. There's a link there to the book that we talked about, Make Everything Easier. It's on Amazon. Make Everything Easier, Get What You Want by Healing Hidden Resistance. The other one, Emotional Souffle, is, I believe it's on Lulu Press. And that you just have to Google Emotional Souffle. I haven't linked that yet, but all the socials are there. Yeah, I'm open. I love conversations. I love to help people start their journey to feeling better and making their life easier, because each one of us that starts to feel less resistance, less grief, shame, anger, separation, I believe that we heal the whole world.
I love it. My one disappointment, my 2 cats didn't make an appearance. Your 5.5 cats did not make an appearance. Like, I don't know where yours are. Mine are sleeping. Mine are the cutest. They are bonded brothers from the same litter, and they like sleep like together all the time. They're in their cat tree right now. But want to acknowledge the work that you're doing, Whitney. I mean, your 25 years of being a transformational mentor, the work that you do to improve people's lives, to transform people's lives, especially soft spot in my heart for people that are grieving, and you helping them. Just like you said, you're making the world a better place. So I acknowledge you for the work that you're doing, and I want to thank you for being an amazing guest today.
Thank you so much for having me on. Always awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Cat Dad Show, and hope to see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.